research, new products. That's what potato growers look for here at the Potato Expo. With me, I've got about 2,000 of my closest friends. You can see the show floor is starting to get packed. Last night, we had a big reception after the Spud Nation Throwdown. And what I love about Potato Expo, it's more than just education and new products and people seeing what the future of potatoes are going to look like, but it's a lot about camaraderie. A lot of the potato growers spend their time in the fields, on their farms, and this is their one opportunity every year to meet each other, to see old friends that they see once a year and have had for 20 or 30 years. So it's one of those events that, especially for a sector of the food industry that people don't think a lot of, potatoes, that it's joyous, that it's really earth-shattering, and it's really game-changing. And we're seeing that more as technology takes place in growing potatoes, in protecting potatoes, and making healthier, tastier, more colorful potatoes. So with me, I've got Matt and Mike from Corteva.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Corteva. I knew I was going to screw that up, even though I asked you right before what it is. So, you're a relatively new company, two major companies that have come together. Talk to us about what you're doing and what Corteva has in the pipeline that's going to help the potato world.
Sure. I'm Mike Lees. I'm a market development specialist in the Northwest for Corteva. And as you said, two companies with a history in crop protection and potatoes, Dow Agrisciences and DuPont Crop Protection.
Two of the biggest.
as part of a merger of the parent companies came together last year. When we talked to you last year, we didn't even have a name for a new company. So Corteva Agriscience is the name of our new company. Later this year, we will spin out and become only an agricultural company. Corteva Agriscience will not have any other businesses other than being focused in agriculture. And I guess the two things I would leave with people is we have a strong portfolio. We probably have the broadest portfolio for crop protection and potatoes right now. Part of our effort is to maintain those current products that are very valuable to growers today, but also discover new products, and that's really our future. And we have, for example, 3 probably new concepts that over the next maybe 2 to 5 years will be of interest to growers. One is a new nematicide that's going to be a revolutionary new product, new active ingredient, new mode of action. We also have a nitrogen stabilizer, and we have a new fungicide. So those are just some of the things we're working on to not only support the products we have today, but bring new products in the future to help meet the challenges of growers.
So Matt, you're in charge of market development. So you're out there talking to growers, you're talking to the industry. What do you hear from them? What are their needs that might have changed over the past couple of years?
Well, I think one thing that farmers are always worried about is pest pressure, evolving pest pressure.
Absolutely.
If we keep having the same offerings to combat that, then we keep getting the same results. So to Mike's earlier point, I'm happy to be part of Corteva that continues to try to innovate, to come up with new solutions, and help the farmers as best as we can. One thing you touched on, Phil, is just the close-knit community that we have within the potato industry, and that's something that we're very, very grateful for, is our relationships with the potato industry. We hear a lot of concerns about different regulatory concerns, different environmental concerns, and all of that takes collaboration from us, from the farmers, from the manufacturers, from the wholesalers, from the food industry, all of that. It's all a team effort.
So I want to pick up on something you said, that they're under more pressure, that there's more climate change than ever before, or environmental changes than ever before, which underscores your point that you might have a fabulous product today that works really well, that because of the environment, in 2 years might not be as effective. So how do you keep up with understanding that and developing new products? And I know you've got a huge team of scientists that do that, but that's got to be a bit challenging.
Oh my gosh, yes it is. And I think there's two areas you're looking at. One is in the field, looking at efficacy of products, looking at resistance management. So from an applied standpoint, understanding products and their life cycle and are they still effective. The other part is the consumer trends, regulatory trends. So you really have to blend all those together to understand when you're developing new products. The other thing to think about in our world in crop protection is you're looking at discovering something that may take 10, 12, 15 years and $200, $300 million to develop. So you're kind of making a bet that those assumptions you're making are correct and that you're going to be able to come to the market 15 years later with a product that's going to meet those field needs as well as consumer and regulatory needs. So it's a big challenge, and the way we address that is constant communication with our stakeholders in the field, understanding growers' needs, understanding channel partners' needs, as well as now we've got a bigger presence in the food chain. We have food chain manager now, so we're trying to get a better understanding from the consumer standpoint back what they're looking for from growers, and then that moving back to the crop protection side, what we need to do so consumers are going to accept these crop protection tools.
So, you bring up a great point that most people don't think about. And what comes to mind is Procter & Gamble. So P&G invested, I don't know how many hundreds of millions of dollars in a fat replacement called Olestra. And what was interesting, it took them 10, 12, 15 years, to your point, to get it approved, to get it in the food supply, and by the time that happened, every other company had developed more low-fat products.
Right.
And you invest all this money, and the market around you changes, and by the time it came out, it was like ho-hum, and it died a painful death. So it's really challenging, for you guys to keep in front of those trends. Well, congratulations on having a new name.
Thank you.
And thank you for everything you're doing for the potato farmer. Absolutely. Appreciate that. We're going to take a break. When we come back, more from Potatoes USA. Their Chief Marketing Officer, John Toastburn, will be back with us and talking about something different than he talked about yesterday. We're going to talk about frozen, and we're going to talk about what's going on at retail. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.